Okay, I'll jump in. So I'm Mark Barrett. I am the very newly appointed Data Science Director at Enjoy Digital. And yeah, I'm going to be running through calculating your data science return on investment. So I'm just going to run through like the contents of it. So the conundrum of ROI, investment or expense, and so on and so on. But I think it was interesting for me last night because I was finishing off my slides. Let's pretend I was finishing them off last week, but I was finishing them off last night and put up an Instagram story and said, hey, I've finished my slides. Here's a really interesting part of it. And I looked back at it. I thought, God, ROI is like the most boring part of data science. Like, I'm really going to have to jazz this up a bit. So thankfully, I found a bit of voice in it, and I've managed to jazz it up, including some images of kittens and other important things for any good slideshow. So I'll jump into it. So yeah, a bit of an obvious one, but just because you've got absolutely loads of data, it doesn't mean it's valuable at all. You could have billions and billions of rows from it, but it only gets really interesting and really valuable when you start to create insights from it, and certainly when people can act on those insights. So this talk is going to be all about that. The obvious calculation, gains minus investment over investment, is ROI. And I could leave it there, but I think Joe would kill me if I finished it there. So the way I've looked at it is kind of a little bit differently. So I've thought about, well, it's about how an organization perceives data science, or data teams in general, engineering, analysis, visualization, storytelling. And really, does the team that you're employed by value you as an asset or an expense? And this massively affects your ROI. So we'll jump into it with if a company thinks that it's an expense. So some of you may have worked in companies like this. I've worked for quite a lot of companies, so nobody can identify who I'm actually talking about. But there are instances where, you know, a company just sees it as this expense that they've got. So you end up having to request lots of things that you usually expect to have for free, like just provided as part of your job. So it's always a struggle to get things. People are used to doing stuff in Excel, so why change it? And yeah, there's a general resistance to change because it's not, data isn't really part of the core offering from the business. It's not something that's championed from the top down, which is super important. So you kind of get minimal support, you know, until things actually go wrong. And as soon as something does go wrong, then that's kind of the catalyst to make some changes. But by that time, it's too late and you've had to handle a disaster. So you tend to get quite a low return on investment when you view it as an expense, just because people are used to the way of doing things. So top tip, avoid companies that view you as an expense rather than investment. Other companies could treat data, and especially data science, as a bit of a vanity project. So I don't know if anybody's seen Silicon Valley. It's a bit of a classic. But there's this one scene in it that sort of really resonated with me, where there's this character called Big Head, and he gets, instead of firing him, they want to keep him and can't lose face of losing this guy, so they just put him on the roof. And he's on the roof with all these other people that they couldn't possibly get rid of because on paper they're important. So they just have them up there doing nothing, like having barbecues and things. And I think that's often how you can feel if you realize that you're part of a vanity project where someone is saying, oh yeah, we've got data science capability, it's amazing. But it's not amazing if you're part of that team. So I think often your results that you produce, like, they can be absolutely amazing. And some solutions can be, you know, really cutting edge things that solve real problems and could bring you a massive return on investment. However, they're not always seen as the right answer. So people often give reasons for not doing something rather than for embracing it. And you know, when you come to ask for, like, can we put this model into production? We can prove that it's, you know, 85% accurate. There'll always be a reason why there's no resource available, or we can't possibly do that, or it'll upset so-and-so. And it's not really a forward-thinking company that's ready to embrace change and really unleash the power of data. So again, avoid those companies if you're looking for a role. The final one, which is the best one, is where a company views it as an investment. So this is where you get people all across the business that are genuinely excited about what this can bring. It can bring about new energy that's not been there for a while. It can create efficiencies and really just make some market-leading propositions that people haven't seen before. And I think that's the beauty of data science, is when you've got that creative freedom to really push as hard as you can to create solutions. They're just amazing, and then you implement them, and then you get all that return on your investment. Because let's say you've put in 100,000, 200,000, there'd be 500,000 into a data team as an investment. You can easily make that up with one solution if you're working on a large enough scale, and especially if you're working for clients that multinationals or even large national companies. So there's massive potential stored in this data, but it's only when people come on board with you on that journey and where people get excited about it as much as you do, that then you really start to see those returns. So that was one of the most important things for me. And when you get it right, everyone goes crazy and celebrates, and it's a really nice feeling. So the question is, where should we invest? If we're investing in data, what should we buy? Well, often it's people, it's expertise.
There's not.
But one of those.
Will die.
Joe, you're not on mute. But I hope your phone doesn't die. So yeah, we really have to understand what data science is to be able to invest in it. And this is really important because you've got so many different roles in an organization. You've got a whole process from, getting the original objectives. Then you've got a whole piece on engineering, you've got enhancing the data, analysis, science, visualization, storytelling, and everything else into it. But if you don't know what the difference in the roles is, then you can't make a good investment, because obviously a data scientist with years of experience, PhD level, or someone with a load of experience that's really good, they're going to be able to command a higher wage than someone that's an analyst or a junior analyst or one of the other roles. So it's really important to know what each person will bring to the team, and ultimately how they will collaborate with each other to bring the best out of each other. So yeah, that's kind of a rough map of our process that we try to follow. There's loads of other things behind the scenes, but this is the high level stuff. And I think getting the data value is a process. So, and one that I'm going through at the moment. So there's obviously, when you first start your team, there's quite a lot of quick wins that you can get from automating processes and reports. So this is things where people hate doing it. Like, it's a copy and paste job, like they're using Excel. It's very manual. There's, they're not really using their skills. All they're doing is they've created a massive backlog of work that only gets bigger and bigger the more clients and the more reports that they have to do. So if we can automate those, that is kind of the first start of the process, because you can create efficiency savings, but also get the buy-in from the wider team as they realize that they're freed up to do other work. It's important on that messaging, because I've had it in the past where people think, oh, crikey, you're making us redundant. But it's not at all that. It's just, there's that much work to be done. If we can free you up to do your actual job rather than copy and pasting and mess around in Excel, then you're probably going to be a lot happier, and you're going to be able to have time to learn new skills and push on and really get the most out of your role. Then we can move into phase 2, which is leveraging the analytics and actually making decisions from the analysis that we've done. And this is where we can, involve clients in the customer journey. We can show them how exciting it is, how much of a difference we can make if we do this analysis that gives them insight that they've not had before. But it's kind of, it's straightforward stuff. It's nothing too complicated. And then we move into a sort of more mature market where we're deploying multiple solutions across the organization. And this is really where you can start to do self-service of data analytics, so you don't have to keep coming back to the team and asking them, could you just tell me this? It's a system where they can just go in and help themselves. And then finally, once we've got the team on board, we've got clients on board, that's when we can get to do the really exciting things that I think data science will bring. So deploying advanced solutions and constantly going back to refine those and to work in a properly collaborative approach, not just within a data team, but within the wider organization itself. So again, at each stage on that, we're definitely seeing return on investment. The trick is just to do it quickly and get as much automated as you can at the start. So the other things that we can measure, some pretty obvious things, but revenue efficiencies, build time. Are we reusing code? Are we using GitHub repositories that are massively useful? So there's a huge range of stuff that we can do in here. IP is obviously very important, and over time we'll be looking at how accurate our models are and hoping to improve those all the time. So estimating data science timelines and avoiding scope creep is the next section on it. So I thought I'd throw in an example straight away. So let's say you own a takeaway business, you've got a chain of takeaways across the country, and you would just want to do something simple like target your customers, learn more about them so that you can ultimately get more orders. So you can push them notifications to say, hey, it's Friday night, don't forget to order, or et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really simple one where we can use data science to understand our customers, to understand what triggers them, buying patterns, what if a person like this has bought this product, what else they buy, kind of clustering of different segments of your audience. And then it's a really easy one. You benchmark, here's what the sales were before. We implement some data science, here's what the sales were afterwards. It's not particularly magic, it's just common sense really, but I thought I'd throw it in as just a really easy one to measure. I've also found this really good product, which is given away, Creative Commons, free to use for commercial purposes or whatever you're out. But I've started using it quite a while ago now, and I've just put the URL down at the bottom, and it's basically just splitting up a task into bite-sized chunks. So it features everything that you could probably need in a data science project. I'm conscious that everyone is not listening to me now, and they're all Googling that URL, but yeah, it's just really a good way of mapping out your thoughts and bringing in other people to add their decisions into it as well. So yeah, definitely check that out as a good way to progress. Oh, I mentioned there was a cat image. So yeah, every good presentation has a cat image. So I thought this was quite good because it kind of represents what the conversations often are when we're coming up with solutions and thinking, well, we could just make it better and better. So we have a cat next door, our Borrow cat, that comes in to visit us pretty much every day. And all Ozzy wants to do is us to make a tinfoil ball and just throw it for him to chase. And he runs after it, hits it back at us, we pick it up and we do it again and again and again. And in this instance, all we need is a really rough foil ball. What we don't need is the hyper polished marble that's absolutely perfect in every single way. So I've kind of used that as a kind of dodgy metaphor for what it's like talking with data scientists, because the beauty of data science is that it can always be improved. There's always improvements to be had. There's always that final tweak. There's always, but we could just do that and it would increase the accuracy rates. Sometimes, well, most of the time, if not all the time, it's better just to ship something that's good enough. So at the start, you say, okay, here's what success looks like. We're looking for 80% accuracy in our predictions. Okay, brilliant, we've hit that. We don't need it to be pushed to 90% because we've already signed it off at 80%. We know that we can get to 90% if we just did that, and we just did that, and we just did that. But just doing that will take us an extra 3 weeks. Doing that one over there will take 6 months. And we have to kind of draw the line somewhere and say, well, okay, this is enough, this is fine. And we're not really going to get much benefit from getting an extra 1 or 2%. We've already got the answer, we know what we're doing. And in my experience, it's easy to do scope creep. I'm definitely guilty of it myself because I like shiny things and there's always a cool new thing that we could do on it. But I think you've really got to stop yourself from doing that and just ship. And this is a great phrase, real artist ship, from Steve Jobs, which was definitely true. Like, you just got to make it and put it out there. Otherwise, it's absolutely pointless creating it. So I think instead of working in Agile, I think you work towards milestones that you defined in previous processes. You could class it as Agile, but data science, in my experience, and Agile doesn't really go hand in hand. If you're working in 2-week sprints or so on, it's really difficult to be able to estimate them. Although we do have to estimate and give milestones, but it's a different thing, I found, with data science rather than development. So I think we need to give flexibility to our data scientists to be able to innovate as well as produce the goods. Making it understandable. I think this is often a forgotten part of data science. We can create the most beautiful, technologically amazing solutions that do the trick and will give us amazing results. But if you're presenting them up the chain and trying to get buy-in and trying to get the investment to productionize it, if people don't understand it and it's too technical, they'll just turn off straight away. And it is a real problem. So we spend a lot of time now, like I've been talking about storytelling for maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 years, about the importance of it, and taking people on that journey to create an emotional response. Even if the response is, oh, crikey, I didn't know that, that's still valid. What you're trying to do is always get them involved, get them excited, and make it really, really easy to understand so that they can sign it off. So wrapping it up, I'm conscious of the time. I've kind of got 5 takeaways in here. The importance of seeing how the organization views data science, make sure that it's seen as an asset that they're willing to invest in. Definitely understand the different roles. Just from a management point of view, you know where to push the work. You also know where to put your budget so that you get the most bang for buck. And yeah, don't start off with the most complicated piece of work first, which again, I've been in day job doing before because it's more fun. But yeah, fun isn't always the right way. Getting your acceptance criteria sorted right at the start is important. And then, yes, taking people along that journey, making it pretty. Everybody loves a map. Everyone loves big fonts. So yeah, that's definitely the most important part once you've done all the other work. So don't forget it. So that was kind of my whistle-stop tour and getting the highest ROI that you possibly can if you're embarking on data science for the first time. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Mark. That was really great. And apologies everyone for the small interruption as well. We've had a power cut in our office just before this event, so hence the scramble for chargers and stuff. But no, I really enjoyed that, Mark. Thank you. The cat analogy lived up to expectation. You could also relate that to kids, I think, because the amount of times I've bought my 3-year-old a very expensive toy and she's played with the box that it's come in instead. Yeah, but guys, if you've got any questions just before Alex jumps on, please put them in the chat and I'll put them out and read them to Mark. So which of those 5, I think Ian means the 5 points at the end, is hardest to implement as a manager?
Hardest one. I think it's, how does the company perceive data science? It's yeah, that getting the buy-in from the very, very senior, well, top level of management is the most important thing. It can change the whole direction of a company, and it can fire up people to be excited and want to collaborate and see it as the new thing that's going to make their lives easier, but also mean that the company can grow quite rapidly as clients realize the things that you can do with data science. So yeah, that is definitely the hardest part of it, is definitely getting that buy-in.
Yeah. And I was going to ask as well, when it comes to avoiding scope creep, how do you sort of overcome the challenge of not restricting the creativity of a data science team, but also making sure that they don't, have some scope creep?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's you could call it managed scope creep. So we know what the objectives are, we know where we need to be, we know what we need to achieve because we've got all that up front. And yeah, knowing that the first iteration isn't the last. And there's always stuff that we can learn. So I think having that sort of headspace and planning in time to be able to truly innovate. It's not, putting a day aside every week. Data science doesn't work like that. You've got to have some proper thinking time. So it could be like a week every month, or it could be just a constant flow of things going on in the background. But as long as we hit those objectives that we've got, then yeah, I think it's fine. I'd absolutely encourage that creative side and having more creative freedom on it. I think once we've hit those initial goals.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just about managing it really and keeping that excitement within the data team whilst delivering on business objectives at the same time. And you've got to trust people to be able to come up with new and exciting things as they see it, and they go on talks and lectures and read up about the subject. It's yeah, I think you definitely get the most out of people when they do have more creative freedom.
Yeah. And then we've got a question from Adrian Yates. He says, great presentation, agreed. Please elaborate on why you don't recommend Agile for data science, as his boss is very keen to experiment with Agile. Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not right for everyone. I just found it's not been right for me. I guess because I've worked as a project manager doing web development and doing all sorts of different project management roles, there's things that are a lot easier to predict how long it will take because there's ways of doing things that have been tried in the past. I think when you're at the cutting edge of technology, which I definitely consider data science can be, when you're at the cutting edge of things, then yes, it is definitely harder to estimate how long things are going to take and to understand what you're actually going to be able to achieve. It's fine if you're doing things like, okay, well, we're going to predict some sales, and you can say, well, all right, that'll take me roughly a week or two to do. That's really easy. But when you've got something that's brand new, that's not been tried before, Agile just doesn't seem to work for me. I think it's also, I guess, related to that as well. You've got to have that permission to fail. So that has been good in the places where I've worked, is that I think failure is seen as part of the process. So if you're not innovating hard enough, well, you're not innovating hard enough if you're not making mistakes and you're not failing at things and realizing that, God, I've wasted 2 weeks on that. What an absolute waste of time. It's about getting that balance right, I guess. But yeah, for me, Agile just, I don't know, just never really took for data science. So that's been my experience. Others might have more success with it, but yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And then I think we'll have this as the last question because I'm conscious that Alex's talk needs to start. But from Waynfield, how do you best recommend discovering the right projects to work on, balancing the creativity and ideas within a data science team versus building stakeholder relationships to understand what they're looking for?
Yeah. He's also put in brackets super presentation, by the way, Joe. I don't know if you saw that.
I was going to say that. I thought you'd had enough
Wayne,
from the previous
best friend.
So.
No. Yeah, it's a good question. Finding the right balance is difficult. I think stakeholder relationships are the most important thing. That's definitely where you should start your journey. If you can get buy-in from not just the senior people in the organisation, but from everybody in the organisation that can see it as an exciting thing, that is way more than half the battle. I'd say that's, that is the most important thing. But yeah, doing that balance once you've got stakeholders, yeah, I think it is. A lot of people will, I'm not advocating doing extra work at home, but the amount of people that I've worked with in data analytics, science, engineering, most of them are tinkerers. The vast majority of tinkerers that are going to want to do side projects that are exciting for no other reason than, yeah, that looks interesting, let's do it. But it's about bringing that into the workplace as a business as usual kind of task. So, well, for instance, in the last few weeks, we've had internal hack day sessions where we get people from across the business, not in data per se, but we've got sales managers, we've got account managers, we've got all sorts, everybody from across the organization coming together to come up with ideas. And we've got a process for that, which is a whole other presentation, but it's basically where we're voting up each other's ideas, collaborating with each other, and getting the most out of each other's experiences to kind of vote for what are the best ideas that we can come up with on a day. And that process is not only super fun, and you get chocolates and medals, which is always good. But yeah, you get to then work on the creative ideas from going through a process. So it is kind of everybody's job to come up with the ideas, and then for the scientists to work out how to do them whilst working in collaboration with those teams. So yes, there is definitely a process that involves a hack day and lots of sticky notes and lots of dots to vote up things. So, but yeah, happy to talk offline about that. But yeah, it's got to have creativity in data science. That's the most fun part, rather than talks on just return on investment.